Hello and welcome to the channel. As you can see, I'm no YouTuber. I just wanted to put together a selection of videos that captured my attempt to reconstruct the Battle of Foy for a bolt action war game. In part 1, I'm going to start by looking at the battle map and then take a look at some of the things that I've built to go with my Battle of Foy, such as the trees and the bunkers and the fences and other bits of scattered terrain. For the battle map itself, I decided to go with Deep Cut Studios' winter map. I think this lends itself really well to the Battle of Foy. Once I'd decided on the actual battle map itself, the next thing I needed to think about was the forest that surrounds Foy. So basically I started making some winter trees. I started out with some that I made from brushes. These are like individual little scatter trees that I thought, I can place them as and where I want them. You can tell that one was a brush just looking at it, but then I also wanted to go with something a bit larger, and I went to Charlie Foxtrot to get these base pieces that come with the actual disc, and I've mounted my trees on them. Now the beauty of these is that you can obviously rearrange it. Different size trees and different size holes, they're all interchangeable, they're all the same size. But I mean, the good thing about them is you can take a tree out and you've got your route through for the troops. Or you could even use some blank bases and put, say, I don't know, a parachute drop or a wrecked vehicle on them, things like that. So there's a lot of flexibility. I mean, I must admit, I really like these. Well, you probably could tell because I've gone with all the, I think, nearly every size that they've done. I mean, that one's for 3. And I've got another one's for 4. I think I've got another one over there for 5s. And then even just a small twosome. But as I say, they're really flexible. And, you can quickly build up a forest that you can interchange and put around in different areas. So they're well worth it. And the trees themselves, as I say, I mean, some of them are made from brushes. Others, like this one, I've picked up at a Christmas craft thing. And I mean, they're pretty rubbish little brushes, but once you've added some flock to them, and firmed it up a bit, and then put your snow on it, they soon look the part. So the beauty of it is they're so cheap. So it's a good way to build up quite a lot of terrain, for pennies really. And after the trees, the next thing I turned my mind to was the foxholes that they used within the woods. Now, there was nothing that I felt I liked the look of that you could just buy off the shelf, so I decided to make my own. And obviously the real foxholes were probably for like 2, 3, perhaps even 4 men. So I've took a bit of poetic license really and made mine, so it suits, bolt action game really, so I can get like a squad of 8 men in there if I want. And I've took the basic, design and the type of manufacture that they did, where they've used tree for the front defences and then like brought up shrubbery. Obviously it would be more covered, but I can cover some up and leave them that way, or I can have them open and put my troops in. So, but with a few tree stumps here and there, it just blends in well with the actual forest. And I've actually made 4 of them that I can scatter along one end of the table. I mean, as I say, if the troops come out of that, I can perhaps have my mortar team in one of these, or covering machine guns. So it's definitely worth looking at building something like that and stretching the realism. Really, I mean, at the end of the day, it's all an illusion. So I'm sure we can take shortcut. I know there's people out there that count rivets and everything else, but to me, if it looks the part, it's good enough. So anyway, after that, oh, before I move on some of the cheap brush ones, I actually did this initially. Now, I'm still pleased with this, but one of the downfalls, I mean, one of the positives of these ones is that you can take all the trees down, pack them in a box, and then the base is packed flat. It's really good, for storage problems. This one, obviously, it is as is, so it's a bit more awkward to store, but I'll probably still end up using it, but it's just another way of doing it. If you've got the room, then why not? I mean, all it is XPS, and then again I put some tree stumps and the brush trees and a bit of flock, and away you go. So I'll put them out the back. Now, in front of the bunkers, the next thing I needed to think about was having some fields. So I've made 4 basic fields, and all these are really is a piece of board. You can use, I don't know, MDF. I've used some plastic board, signwriter's board, I think. And then I've put a strip of brown corduroy on here, which I've then painted over with whites and cream browns, so it's kind of showing through the snow, and you can still see the suggestion of the field. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, I've made 4 of these. I wouldn't necessarily say that these are complete, but they're okay as they are. But what I am thinking of doing is perhaps on one, at least, is perhaps having some shell bursts, which you can build up with some plaster or something, and then colour it out with the black of the explosive and whatever, and throwing up the soil. But it all adds, just to give it a bit of a different feel. So yeah, I've made 4 of them so I can put them in different positions. And then of course, with the fields, the next thing I thought about is, well, really need some fences here and there for cover. So I started out with these basic ones that I've made from matchsticks, and I've done a variety of them really. Some, that are complete, like this one. I don't think I've actually got any at hand, but there's some where I've got broken rails or open gates and things like that. Just for a bit of variety. But they're good for like edging your fields. And then the other thing that I did notice, because initially I think I made about 12 of those, but I noticed when I looked at the pictures of Foy and the surrounding fields on Google Earth, that a particular fence they had were the wire fences. And then looking at the Band of Brothers episode, Breaking Point, where they're running across the field, I noticed, they did actually feature them wire fences, so I decided to make some more matchstick ones, but this time with wire running through. I think the biggest pain about these was, having to drill 2 little holes in each matchstick and then thread the wire through. And at the time I thought, well, this is going to be a bit dodgy, it's going to be very weak. But to be honest, they're surprisingly stable. Once you've actually got the wire running through, and you've obviously added some PVA and your snow and your flock, they're quite stable. And again, it just gives a bit of variety. And again, you edge your fields with wire ones just to break it up, have different styles. And the other thing, of course, that I noticed, again, I saw them in pictures long after the battle, some pictures of around Foy, but also they featured in the episode in Band of Brothers, was the distinctive haystacks. Now, I looked everywhere for, model haystacks, and there are some out there, but they're pretty, like, dome-shaped, and they had a distinctive look. So, again, I've had to go with a bit of a scratch build on them. And what I've used is some basic polystyrene for the shape. And then I think it's, you know, like the koi base that you put in a flower basket. I've used strips of that to wrap around it before, you know, snowing it up. And then like I'll have them on the field. I mean, I don't know whether you can remember from that episode where they're running up and taking shelter behind these. I think, is it Captain Dyke freezes behind one of them, and that's when obviously Spears has to come and take the troops in because he just freezes. So I've built 4 of them that I can scatter across my fields. And then again, thinking of you know, basic terrain elements, the next thing that I thought about is, well, really need some telegraph poles. So I've gone with these. Now I think I got these from War Games tournaments. I think they were like 10 for £3 or £4. But I've basically just flocked them up, added a bit of snow, and you know, that's it really. I think the only other thing I probably would do is probably add a washer to the bottom of it for a bit more stability, because they are, as you can see, a bit wobbly. But you know, again, it just gives a bit more realism to things. What else have I done? Oh yeah, the other thing is I went recently to the Warlord Games open day, and they'd got some miscasts that you could pick up. So I picked some of them up, and then using some spares from other vehicles I'd got, I decided to make the odd one of these, which is like, you know, a crashed, wrecked vehicle that I could use, you know, just, it gives a bit of different cover, you know, for the troops to go behind, that I can scatter here and there. I think that's pretty much all I wanted to cover for the basic terrain material. The only other thing that I did get was this. Again, this is from Deep Cut Studio, and it's their strips of road. Forgive the hole, that's where my dog Bob got carried away at Christmas thinking it was one of his presents to open, but thankfully he didn't damage the road inside it. But the roads are actually, you know, like the mouse mat material. And although they're not snow effect, you know, they lay flat, and it's like a flat road of cobble. I mean, I've decided to, you know, not to do any snow effects on these because I want to be able to use them for other battles. But I mean, temporarily you could just scatter a bit of white flock on it, really, you know, during the battle. I mean, I have made some snow roads as well, but I just think these, you know, I'm stuck for space really, and these they're a lot more flexible and a lot easier to store. So I thought they were a really, you know, a good solution for that really. Anyway, that, as I say, is everything that I wanted to cover for the basic terrain. I think the next video is going to be looking at the actual buildings that I've decided to use, because obviously you can't have Foy without buildings. So, but that'll be in part 2. But thanks for joining me. I hope you found something interesting or useful, something that might give you an idea of how you'd like to do a winter scene. And yeah, I'll leave it for the next time. So thanks again for joining me. Bye bye.